president, explaining to him why I felt I needed to make that cut. I'm one of 47 people in the House of Representatives that have voted for every single cut and every amendment that has come across our desks.
And
We are so outside the bounds of our spending that we need to dial it back everywhere. And when it comes to helping the poor, and when it comes to helping those that are disadvantaged, we need to have a government safety net. However, I need to be, I'll put the onus on me, but I'll challenge you as well. We need to be that first line of defense. All right? This means that I need to step up. This means I need to make sure that I'm taking care of people in my church and in my community and other places. That's why my family volunteers. That's why we make donations. That's why we do all those things. It can't just be kicked off to the government. Government is not a charity, right? The Salvation Army and the Rescue Mission and all those are charities. And that is where I believe my dollar is used to its highest and best use. So there are going to be plenty of programs that you're going to be able to pick out that, yes, I cut. There's plenty of other programs that, yes, I supported. I hope you understand that I believe that we have to have cuts that are going to reach into every budget and every department.
Hello, Congressman. My name is Brandon from here in Grand Haven. Thank you for coming. First of all, I want to thank you for your Libya vote. I haven't heard much of that tonight, but I thought that was the right thing. Anyway, I believe in a government that governs least, governs best. Government used to have nothing to do with marriage whatsoever. And I think Dr. Paul has made some very good points that its involvement in marriage has caused nothing but problems. Shouldn't the government just get out of marriage altogether and let free people in a free country contract as they please? Thank you. Yep.
All right, that's and that is, you're probably referring to DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act.
Would you support getting the government out of marriage completely and just letting the people handle it privately?
No.
Churches would do what they want. People do what they want.
No, I believe that the state, by defining, and we had this vote in the state of Michigan as well, definition of marriage, and the DOMA Act is the proper role for defining what is. Yeah. There are plenty of other legal contracts and legal relationships that people can have, powers of attorney, and all those other things that they can hit a lot of those. I just think the definition of marriage is one man and one woman. So. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Barbara Colin. I'm from Spring Lake. I liked how you began speaking about your five children.
Yep.
5 children. I have 2 children. My second daughter was born with a genetic blood disorder. She's also developmentally delayed. I'm a teacher. I worked very hard while also raising my children. I have very good health insurance at the moment. I have MESA, which will take care of her even past the age of 26 because she is special needs. I also have a pension, and I have it right now. I have also felt like I've been working so that she's going to be okay after I'm no longer. I think that she will live longer than I will live. There's been a lot of things that have made me feel secure, and those things in the last several months have been taken away from me. One of those things is Social Security, which I don't know what's going to happen with that. Another one is Medicare. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So the future of my daughter, when I'm gone, I don't know if I can. You say that there's going to be these people who are going to supply charity for her. With knowing that there were programs in the government that would take care of her, made me feel secure. Made me feel that when it's my time, can leave. But at this point, it is very, very hard for me to think of my daughter's future. And I believe that as a country, we need to figure out what our priorities are. One of my priorities is taking care of people that need it. My daughter didn't choose to be developmentally disabled. She didn't choose to have health problems, and she is the happiest person in the world. She is an amazing individual. And I want to know that she's going to be taken care of. And when you're talking about not having my country, the country that I've lived in, the country my grandfather, he had Social Security. When I don't have that security, when you're telling me that no, I can't, that we cannot ask the top 1% of the people who make the most in the world help with people who are not as fortunate. I do not understand this. This is not the America I was born into.
I commend you. I've done a fair amount of work with special needs kids, and I know that you have some unique challenges, and she keeps continuing to walk. That's right. That's right. And so the thoughts go to you and your family on that. And this is where we have not taken Social Security away. We have not taken Medicare or Medicaid away. There is a situation, though, if we don't figure out how we are going to modify them in a way that is going to be guaranteeing that they're in existence when your daughter, how old is she? 22? I'm 42. Actuarials will tell you those systems aren't going to be in place for when I retire, 25 years from now, all right? We're trying to fix them to make sure that they are there for your daughter and for people in my generation and for my kids and things that are happening. We cannot suspend the laws of mathematics here, all right? The simple fact is when Social Security was put in place, there was over 16 people for every retiree. It's to 3.2 right now. And it's on its way to 2.5 people per retiree. All right? We are going to have to modify the system. And this goes to your point, and maybe the point a few of you are also making. I personally don't think that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and George Soros need to collect a Social Security check or qualify for Medicare, frankly. All right? So if we want to talk about how we're going to change that system, that is one of those ways, and I am willing and open to take a look at that. Actuarials will tell you, people that pay into the system far out exceed what they've paid in. They typically will pull out more than that they have paid into those systems. Right? Government is not an insurance program, because what it does is it takes all that money and it takes that extra money and it doesn't invest it. You know, it doesn't have an account with Schwab. It spends it. And where it is spent, I have yet to go see it, but Paul Ryan's become a good friend, and he has seen it. He's going to take me and a group of others to go see this. There's literally a file cabinet full of IOUs for those systems. That is wrong. We've got to figure out how we're going to preserve that system for your daughter and my kids as well. So,
means testing.
Yeah, that is possibly one of those things that could happen.
Hi, I'm Pat from Spring Lake. Thanks for coming. There's been some pretty deep questions here. I've just got a really simple question. I hope it doesn't sound stupid, but why does our government borrow money and turn around and give it to countries around the world? I mean, doesn't that seem kind of stupid?
That is, there's a number of programs that are out there that are like that. That's the kind of stuff that we have to review and figure out. Now, I don't disagree. It's Pat, right? Sorry. I don't disagree, Pat, but let's eliminate that. Let's completely take it off the table. No funding for Africa or aid relief or anybody. It is a rounding error yet. Frankly, it is a rounding error in what we spend totally. The three big drivers of our spending are Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. Hold on. And the fourth one is defense. The fifth one, any guesses? Interest on the debt. That's right. Interest on the debt. And if we simply even return to the historic norms of the 90s, not even the 80s, but the 90s, that slice of the pie is just going to grow even bigger, all right? That's not without spending more money or spending into more debt. That's just simply servicing the debt that we've got. If those interest rates go up, we're going to be spending even more on our interest payments. So they believe in the next 10 years, interest alone is going to outpace defense spending. So, but I've also voted for those cuts. I've voted for cuts to the UN. I've voted for cuts to aid. I've voted for cuts for a number of those things. So, sir.
I was kind of pleased to see when you were elected because you went to the same college that I did. And I hoped you took the same Economics 101. But I've been disappointed in your voting record, which I followed very carefully. You started out with a couple stories. May I do two?
Please.
First is, do you know what cardiomyopathy is?
Yes, I've heard of it.
You know how much that costs?
I do not know that.
My wife acquired that somehow. My nephew was a surgeon, told me maybe through a virus or something. She smoked a half a cigarette in her whole life. She had none of the problems that could cause that. Didn't drink alcohol. But I got a huge bill. What I'm driving at is I'm really concerned about your position on health care. And I know I don't give a rip because I'm covered. And your newsletter told me that. But I am concerned about my kids. And I got a bill for a lot more than the voucher program that Governor Ryan has spoken about. That's my first story. Okay? Second is, I was drafted out of the same college that you went to and sent to Korea. We still have troops in Korea. Do you know how many troops we have all over the world and how many countries? Why does that continue? We have troops in Germany. That I'm just very concerned about all that we spend on that.
But that feeds in nicely with exactly the kind of conversations that we are having every day. And I will tell you, there was 96 freshmen that were elected, 9 Democrats and 87 Republicans. All right, out of those 87 in the caucus, you can imagine it is a sizable influence. Of those 87, 22 of them are retired military. One of them is actually still active reserves. He's a fighter pilot. He's flown both in Afghanistan and in Iraq. A lot of them are retired lieutenant colonels or full bird colonels. These are the men and women that make stuff happen in the military. They typically are the first ones up at the mic saying, we need to look at how we are spending our defense dollars. We need to rethink this. I think you're going to see a continued conversation about that as we are moving forward, and it's about making sure that we are using those defense dollars wisely, prudently, and frankly, constitutionally. What are we supposed to be doing? So, your health care concern and question. My problem that I think is a challenge for all of us is we have a system that frankly shields us from actual costs and expenses. I don't know about you, but with 5 kids, we take a fair amount of trips to the emergency room. All right, and how we had paid for that when I was a state representative is I had a Blue Cross Blue Shield card. All right, in between doing that and doing this, and I will tell you again, I now have a Blue Cross Blue Shield card. It's the same card and the same program. I had a health savings account. I was working at Zeeland Christian School, doing some work with them, and that's actually where I had a chance to work with our special needs students. Having an HSA radically changes how you view healthcare and your access to healthcare, because you have to spend it like it is yours. Unfortunately, for us with this system, I don't know the difference between an X-ray, an MRI, or a CAT scan, and I'm betting you don't either unless you have some sort of specific medical background. And you talk to healthcare providers time and time again, and we all come in and, no, I want the blue pill or the purple pill or whatever pill I just saw advertised. No, don't give me an x-ray. I know you say that that's okay, but I want the MRI. You know, we are expecting the highest and best. We have not put in any kind of tort reform. So guess what? Doctors oftentimes, and I've got a brother-in-law who's a doctor, in full disclosure, he's an rehabilitation doctor. I always forget the acronyms. And when he went to medical school in West Virginia, he went to med school down there. West Virginia actually had a period of time, I think it was about 4 months, where they could not insure an OBGYN. Not one, because of the lawsuits that were going on. And so that, to me, is a real danger as well. It's about access. My wife's from Canada originally. I am very familiar with the Canadian system. The Canadian system exists and can function only in one way. It's 30 million people with a vast majority of their population massed along the border that accesses health care in Rochester, Minnesota, out in Seattle, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. All you got to do is...
Very small minority, sir. Very small minority.
More than what you think. My mother-in-law, who radically disagrees with me on most things, worked for social services in Ontario and was telling me how Ontario pays for every single heart problem, brain problem, serious eye issue, and there was like a fourth one. They send them to Buffalo. Why? Because they don't have the facilities available in Toronto. Toronto. Right? This is how screwed up it is. A few years ago, they had a blue ribbon commission because the wait time to get an MRI was 6 months in Ontario. So some enterprising doctors said, hey, let's just go buy our own MRI machine and start providing MRIs on private pay. They put together a blue ribbon commission and after 6 months determined that that wasn't fair, so therefore they shut it down and would not allow them to function that way. And talk about dumb, you got people who are willing to take money out of their pocket, relieve the wait time. The wait time was cut in half pretty much. So guess what those people do? Instead of going to their local MRI place in Toronto, they drive to Buffalo to go get them because they don't want to wait 6 months, and I don't blame them.
Excuse me for just asking a second question. Why then is the United States spending 17% of our GDP, Canada 10 or 11, and their health outcomes are better than ours?
There's a lot of different. Yeah, there's a lot of different statistics on that, and we can go back and forth on whether that's true or not true, because there's other studies that show this is true. We spend a disproportionate amount, percentage-wise, of our total GDP on healthcare. We also provide the best healthcare in the entire world. That's why people come here. So, yeah, it's not just if you have insurance. All you got to do is go to a hospital. They cannot refuse treatment to anybody. Legally, they cannot refuse treatment.
Thank you. I'm Bart from Grand Haven Township. And earlier you made a comment about supporting cost-cutting measures across the board. But some government programs, some expenditure, actually saves money for the country in the long run. So I guess I would like to point out something like energy conservation projects that maybe have a 2-year payback. That would save lots of money over the long term. And for the state of Michigan, we spend $1 billion a year on fossil fuels. Keeping that money in Michigan would be a great economic stimulus for us. So I guess I'm asking, would you then refrain from using a term or a phrase like you support cost cutting across the board when some of it would actually be to the detriment of the state?
All right, I guess I should have been more specific on that. What I meant specifically by that is that I have voted for virtually every budget amendment that has included cost cutting. So it doesn't matter to me whether it was defense, whether it was Department of Interior, whether it was EPA, whatever. I mean, so that's what I meant. Quite honestly, I'm not a huge fan of across the board, hey, we're going to take 15% from everybody's budgets, because here's one of the things it does do. It preserves really bad programs just at a reduced amount, and it cuts really good programs by that same amount. So I do think we need to be more judicious than that, and that's where I think, you know, even as tough as this could be, if they do those across the board cuts, and I'll point out that's still only $150 billion a year over 10 years, 1.5 trillion. You can be selective in that, and that's wise. So, thanks, sir.
Ron Tyzinski, Robinson Township. I was wondering if it's true that there's a provision in the Obama healthcare plan called CAPS Law that authorizes the federal government to go directly into your 401k and take out between 3 and 8% depending on inflation, and what was the likelihood that could actually happen?
This is not the first I've heard of it, but I have not seen. What did you call it?
It's called CAPS Law.
CAPS Law. So we will check into it. I know there were some provisions in how they were talking about being able to, go in and garnish basically bank accounts and some of those. So I'm not sure if it's specifically if you can do that into a 401k. That would surprise me. Typically, courts have protected retirement funds. But we can look at it. If we've got your name, if you want to, where's Greg? This is Greg Van Workum right back here. He is my district director. Some of you may recognize the Van Workum name. His dad, Jerry Van Workum, was a state senator out of Muskegon. Greg had this funny notion that moving back from Washington and actually being able to afford a house and have a garage back here in West Michigan was a good idea. So he has come and has been working for me as my district director here. So if we can get your name and number or email or whatever, we'll make sure that we communicate with you on that.
Thank you.
Because I read one of the earlier versions of the bill and I saw something along
Yep.
those lines in there. So
Okay, and we have a series of sort of those frequently asked question type things, and we are happy to put those in, or links and all those other things. So thank you. Yep, we will do that. Ma'am.
Hi, I'm Linda Slade. I'm from Norton Shores. I have a couple of questions, but one is talking about taxes. Currently, as I understand it, less than half of the households in the United States actually pay taxes, and that if we tax the rich for their entire incomes, we might last a month. So I think we need to share the burden, even if we have people on welfare, or what, I don't know what the politically correct term is these days, but if we have people on welfare, raise their welfare 10% and tax them 10%, so that they are part of, so they see that it's not all free. That's one thing. The other thing is, with Obamacare, we also are getting additional taxes, which nobody really talks about in any of this discussion about taxes and spending. There are already tax increases on the way. Now, personally, I think we should get rid of Obamacare, but if we don't, let's get rid of the waivers, and let's put Congress under the same medical program.
Let me address the last one first. I wholeheartedly agree. Frankly, we need to lead on this. And whether it's cutting our own budgets, which we've done since I've been there in 6 months, I voted to cut my own budget 11.5%, which means there's probably going to be fewer mailings. You may be happy about that. I don't know. But what, in all seriousness, that is, it's a total of about $165,000 out of the budget, which is our ability to have people answering phones and emails and getting you letters and responses and that kind of thing. So that we have to do that. We have to live under those same rules. And frankly, I think every single country ought to be living these. And these waivers are a farce, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's a joke that you are going to be able to have all of these various waivers, and only a cynic would think that they might be a little political. Who's going to be granted those waivers? So, getting to what's that? NLRB, yes, I would agree. But This morning I met with a group of investment professionals and CPAs. This is the kind of fun information that they give you. Sorry to any of my financial planner or CPA friends in the audience tonight. This is the share of income tax burdens for the 2009 tax year. It's an adjusted gross income chart for 2009, which is apparently the most recent of those that are complete. And 12.4% of the total number of returns filed supplies 74.7% of all tax revenue. That is adjusted gross income over $100,000. Under $100,000 would be is 87.6% of the total files, and that's not including obviously all those that don't file anything. They provide 25.3% of all the tax money that is put in place. So we can put this up on our website as well. My staff is going to be busy in the next few days, but we'll get you this. This is it's all numbers from the Department of Treasury. Say again.
Tax only?
I'm sorry.
Sales taxes, real estate taxes, excise taxes.
No, this is the total number of returns filed. We're talking about income taxes that are filed. Obviously, everybody, well, most people, pay sales tax, gas taxes, any of those things. And that's kind of the debate we're having too. I mean, consumption taxes, and that's the whole fair tax, the whole flat tax, a number of those other tax structures that are being talked about. So.
Don Fredericks, Allendale. Bill, good to see you again. Yep. I think if there's any one thing that most of us agree on, it's the fact that the government simply spends too much money. When our country...
Not everybody disagrees.
I understand. I said most of us. When our country was founded, there were actually 3 federal laws. Now there are over 4,000. The Code of Federal Regulations is over 157,000 pages. It costs us billions of dollars every year to police that. It's rare that any law or regulation is ever repealed or overturned. Has anyone ever considered, as much as I don't want another government committee, has anyone ever thought of having a committee that did nothing but repeal regulations? It's all we can do.
Actually, in the state of Michigan, they had one of those a few years ago, and it dug up some interesting things. I think that would be a great idea. I know. I try to vary all of my information. I watch MSNBC and a number of the other CNBC and a number of others channels I don't always agree with. So I want to know what people are saying and thinking and hearing. One of the things I heard on MSNBC was somebody from one of the trading floors. I actually don't think it was in